Today is March 7th, 2026. It has been 7 days since the Strait of Hormuz effectively closed to global shipping. On February 28th, following joint military strikes by the United States and Israel on Iran, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps issued warnings prohibiting vessel passage through the strait. Tanker traffic dropped sharply. Major carriers, including Maersk, Hapag-Lloyd, and CMA CGM, suspended all transits. But the most significant threat in this region may not be the missiles. It may be what is happening right now, beneath the water. The Strait of Hormuz is the only sea passage from the Persian Gulf to the open ocean. From 2023 to 2025, 20% of the world's liquefied natural gas, 25% of all seaborne oil trade, and 1/3 of global fertilizer trade pass through it annually. It does not serve as one option among many. It is the option, irreplaceable, and for decades considered acceptable because it was stable. That assumption was always incomplete. The seabed of the Strait of Hormuz is composed largely of sand, silt, and carbonate sediments. Water depths range between 200 and 330 feet. Despite the rarity of tsunami events in the region, seismic activity in the Persian Gulf is high due to the boundaries between the Eurasian and Arabian tectonic plates and the proximity of the Maersk subduction zone. For most of the 20th century, planners focused on the geopolitical risk of the strait. The geological risk was treated as a footnote. That was the problem. The Maersk subduction zone runs along the floor of the Gulf of Oman, directly east of the strait's entrance. Submarine landslides rank as the second most prevalent contributor to tsunami generation globally. Research has found that a smaller magnitude earthquake may be sufficient to trigger a tsunami-genic submarine landslide in this zone. The unconsolidated sediments here possess low seismic velocities and significant trapped fluid content. A landslide with a volume of approximately 7 cubic kilometers has already been identified offshore Chabahar through seismic reflection data. The seabed was not waiting for war. War has now arrived directly above it. Each mine detonation, each depth charge, each warship sinking generates a localized pressure event on the seafloor. The Maersk zone's sediment layer, already fluid saturated and poorly consolidated, responds to that pressure. Research confirms that submarine landslides in this zone can occur independently of seismic activity, and that major ports including Chabahar, Jask, and Muscat face elevated tsunami threat from a landslide event in this area. It was not seismic force that triggered the 1945 Maersk tsunami. Research indicates that a large submarine landslide caused a discrepancy of more than 3 hours between the original earthquake and the second tsunami wave's arrival. Military explosions are not earthquakes, but for loose sediment on a steep slope, the distinction may not matter. The consequences of a landslide-generated tsunami in the Gulf of Oman would not begin with flooding. They would begin with silence. Roughly 130 laden tankers are currently anchored in holding patterns inside and just outside the Gulf. A submarine displacement event, even a modest one, would push those vessels in unpredictable directions simultaneously. Navigation instruments are already compromised. Electronic interference, including disruptions to GPS, AIS, and VHF systems, have been confirmed across the region by the Joint Maritime Information Center. Then come the energy markets. A full closure lasting a month or more would push crude oil prices well into triple digits, and European natural gas prices toward or above the crisis levels seen in 2022. And beyond energy, the food system. The sinking of even a single tanker in this strait would likely halt navigation for an extended period. Before the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, the northern Sumatra subduction zone was incorrectly believed to be inactive due to a perceived lack of significant seismic activity in the preceding 2 centuries. The Macron Zone carries that same profile in the minds of many planners today. Given the strategic significance of this area, encompassing energy, economic, military, and political dimensions, even with a low probability of occurrence, the risk should not be underestimated. An early warning system for a tsunami, triggered by a submarine landslide in the Gulf of Oman, would have, at best, 15 minutes to reach coastal populations. During an active naval conflict, with communications degraded and ports on alert for a different threat entirely, that window narrows further. The systems designed to respond to this hazard were not built for a war zone. The conversation has centered on missiles, mines, and oil prices. That is appropriate. But beneath the strait, recently deposited sediments sit above a subduction zone that has generated destructive tsunamis before and will again. The conflict above did not create that geological condition. Decades of incomplete hazard assessment did. We built the world's most critical energy corridor above one of its most geologically sensitive seafloors and planned for almost every scenario, except the one where both threats arrived together.